Okay, today we have Laurel Sayer from Perpetua Resources. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking us.
Sure. So tell us about yourself and a little bit about the company.
Okay. So just to intertwine with the company and how I came about to be with Perpetua, my background is in actually regulatory policy and permitting. I worked for some congressmen for a couple of decades on the Hill and then in Idaho. And I helped shepherd different companies, projects, natural resource projects through the permitting process. Had a great opportunity to be able to get to know regulatory policy, procedure, folks in those agencies, understand how things are permitted, what obstacles you have. So I joined then, it was called Midas Gold. I joined their corporate board in 2014. And in 2016, Midas Gold finalized their plan of operations that you propose to the Forest Service, our lead agency, and that kicked off the NEPA process, which is the major permitting process to permit a mine in Idaho, or anywhere in the U.S. So they asked me, would you come on board and help us get through this permitting process?
So if it was someone else, how much do you think you're shortcutting in terms of time and effort to?
I don't know that we're shortcutting. The NEPA process is so complicated.
Yeah.
It is very subject to a lot of entities and the knowledge of agencies and how they understand the NEPA process too, and who they have working on the project. But I think that it has helped us keep it moving. So in December of 2020, our company refreshed the board and they moved the headquarters to Boise, Idaho. Our project is in Idaho, and they moved the project there. And I became the CEO and president of the company that now is in Idaho and is the corporate company to move this project forward. So it's been an interesting process, but we have such a great project. Our project is located in Idaho in the Stibnite mining district, which is it takes about 3-4 hours from Boise to get there by car. And it's a very exceptional project with an amazing resource. It's a gold antimony project. But the unique part about this project is that it is located in an abandoned mining area. And that was first mined. It's been mined that area for 100 years, but the major mining took place during World War II and the Korean War, where the U.S. government identified the resources of tungsten and antimony to use in the war effort. And it was mined during that time. It's really a fascinating story. The little town of Stibnite, and the project grew to 1,000 people, nearly overnight, as they mined the tungsten and antimony. And through our records of looking at the resource and what they did, there are memos and letters that compliment the people of Stibnite during the war years for shortening the war a year. So it's been a great opportunity to research that as we've developed the project and moved it forward.
Did the mine shut down because the war effort dwindled and they didn't have as much demand, or something else?
It did slow down on tungsten and antimony, but there's always been the gold there that they were mining. So there were a few projects mining gold, antimony later on, but there hasn't been any activity since early 1990s.
So what kind of mix are you going for in terms of precious metals? Mostly gold and some tungsten. What else?
Well, it's actually, we're being permitted for gold and antimony. It's really interesting. The gold is the economic driver of the project. We have 4.8 million ounces of gold. It's a nice, large, low-cost project, given the fact that we have the low cost, given the fact that we have Idaho Power, hydropower as our main source for power and to do energy to operate the mine. And then we have about 148 million pounds of antimony reserve that we have up there as well. I don't know how familiar you are with antimony.
Not too familiar. It's not my top 5.
Well, antimony is on the critical mineral list for the government that they put out there. It is, in the past, it was used as a fire retardant. And even today, that is used in fighting fires. The pink flow of stuff that comes from the airplanes when they fight fires, that has antimony in it. It's used in carpet and anything that has flame retardant on it. Antimony is used in that. But now probably the most significant is in recent time, in the last maybe 5 years or so. It has a use in a clean energy battery. So we have an agreement with a company called Ambri that we will provide them the company Ambri, that we will provide them the antimony for their liquid metal battery. This is a battery that they have designed. They've been in creating it for over 10 years. It's now going into the commercialization, based out of Massachusetts. And this battery will store wind and solar. So the big gap on the grid is that when the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, you can't store the energy. Yeah. So this is a battery that is been created for that. And it's very exciting. Just today there was a webinar on the Atlantic Council that they talked about antimony and the diversification of batteries for clean energy, and Ambri was on that panel and spoke to it. But so that's exciting about having that antimony. The other use for antimony, and as I mentioned, it's on the critical mineral list. So there's no domestic mining of antimony in the U.S.
None.
None. Canada. In fact, it's on the critical minerals list for the U.S., Canada, several other countries. There is just not being mined.
It's all imported. And
the most of it comes from China and Russia. And they cut off their supply about 2 years ago to us. But so we need this antimony. We need it in clean energy. We need it in the uses we use as a flame retardant. We use it in alloys. It's used particularly it's used for the Department of Defense. It's used in uniforms, but most importantly, it's used in munitions. And the Department of Defense is very interested in our antimony. They know the history of it. They know the history of our site and the grade and the quality of our antimony for munitions. And they're very interested in being able to help that replenish the stockpile of antimony.
That's very interesting. Government. A lot of people I could see totally oversee that because so much attention is given to the top 5.
Exactly.
But you're saying no other companies are mining it in the U.S.?
No antimony.
That sounds like a serious shortage problem.
In fact, recently in the Inflation Reduction Act, antimony was listed as one of the minerals that is needed that we need to be focusing on.
So compared to gold, how much more profitable is it? Let's say you're mining today, both of them. How much more profitable would it be?
So antimony is not the economic driver of the project. It is gold. So 5% of our project of the resource is antimony. The rest is gold. Gold is the economic driver.
Sure.
So in this process, and one of the 3 things that why our project is so unique is that we're going into this abandoned mining area that we will improve the water quality of the area, and it needs to be restored. So how we separate ourselves from other mining projects is the fact that we will do restoration up there right now when we're in construction and operations, we will restore and make the environment better. The water quality will improve. Water temperature for fish will improve. And those things will all, to restore that area, the government doesn't have the funding to go in and restore at the extensive amount it will take to actually improve conditions. So
you have a plan for that?
We have a plan for it. Our plan includes the restoration that we will do concurrently in our project as we mine. Some mining projects, probably I would say the majority of them, they reclaim the area when they're done. We're going to be improving it as we go. So for example, the Yellow Pine pit, we will have 3 pits that we will mine. Right now, because of past mining, the East Fork of the South Fork of the Salmon River dumps into an abandoned mining pit. There's a pond there. The salmon, who normally, over 80 years ago used to migrate up that river, they haven't been doing that for over 80 years.
Wow.
At the beginning of construction, we will put the river into a 15 by 15 foot tunnel and have the ability for the fish, the salmon, the bull trout, the trout to migrate back up to the upper reaches of that river and spawn up there and reconnect that stream.
That's interesting. I visited the river there, and all the dams have special things so that the salmon can swim upstream, and so vital to our ecosystem.
Yeah, we will open up over 20 miles of new habitat for these fish. And if you follow Idaho and those areas and the dams and all of that along that Snake River, salmon, Snake River, Columbia Basin, salmon, they get a lot of attention, and they are, it's important to us. It's a legacy that we in Idaho, as being the headwaters of the salmon, we take pride in the fact that we can do that.
That's a definite great strength of the company to be able to do that. So I'd like to kind of get into, we talked about the team a little bit, but how do you feel like it differentiates from other teams?
I feel very fortunate to be part of a group of people and team that are so dedicated to what we call a new era of mining, so to speak, because of the restoration. A lot of our folks have been there from the very beginning of creating the plan and the engineering and the work and the permitting process. They are committed to be part of this project that has this large restoration component. And I would say that in 2016, 2017, 2018, as we were developing our permitting team, they were attracted to the project because of the restoration, of the different way you look at mining, right? And they were very attracted to it and committed to it. And many of them came to us looking for a job to work on our project. They'd heard about it through their different associations and groups. But in addition to that now, I think that the attraction is also this critical mineral. To be part of clean energy and this sort of this new revolution of clean energy that is taking place, and then the DOD component of the antimony for military uses. So every bullet, every bomb, all of those, they all have antimony in them. And that's
very interesting. So how many other exploration companies do you think are looking at antimony?
Well, you have to have antimony associated with, it's usually associated with gold. I don't know of many, I don't know of any in the U.S. There may be. I think we are the furthest along. Just with our antimony in our operations, our production would provide 35% of the U.S. demand now.
Interesting. I was going to ask
it's
that. That's
a
great,
big deposit historically of antimony.
Yeah. So kind of getting back to my profitability question is, you said 95%, 5%. Let's say, you're pulling stuff out of the ground on both. Is your profit going to come even maybe a little bit more because like 95% gold, 5% antimony, you could end up doing 10% antimony profit because it's so profitable.
Well, we say that the AISC is a $70 additional cost, additional profit onto the gold per pound, I believe that is.
Okay.
So that is the profit. It is not our major economic driver. Could it be in the future as
the price goes up? Yeah.
We have a really good, solid feasibility study that was finished in December 2020, January 2021. And the price in the feasibility study then was $3.50 per pound for antimony. It's probably doubled or a little bit more since then.
That's pretty good because gold.
Yeah, because gold has not.
Yeah, gold has not doubled, so your ratio is pretty good.
But depending on how the attraction is to antimony in these new types of clean energy batteries.
Yeah, and scarcity is your biggest driver for that because there's no one else doing it, like you said. So unless it's so that could be a real interesting play, a catalyst that we like to talk about that would drive the stock price. So, what other catalysts do you see that would be good drivers of?
The permitting process is long and lengthy, and we have had delays, just like anybody else does through the NEPA process, through different administrations, different comments that have come. Had a draft environmental impact statement that came out in August of 2020. We took those comments. There were 10,000 comments, and 85% of them were favorable towards the project. Then we took those comments that we did receive, we tweaked and adapted the plan and created what we call a Mod Pro 2. We improved water quality, we improved water temperature, which is important for spawning fish and any type of fish, and we shrunk the footprint of the project. So we did those things. We went to the Forest Service. They felt like we needed to do a supplemental EIS. So we worked on that, and we anticipate in Q4 of this year, so very soon, that supplemental will be out on the street for comment. So the next steps in the process for that are that the Forest Service will gather the comments from the public during this comment period, and then they'll review them. Normally in the permitting process, that usually is an analysis and that for about 6 months, and then they will put out a final EIS, draft record of decision. And then from that, the time in the regulatory process is about 6 months, and then a final record of decision should come out. So once we get that final record of decision, then we can finalize our ancillary permits, which would be some state permits and maybe county permits that are subject to a NEPA, a record of decision. And we're working on those simultaneously as we go through the NEPA process. So that will happen. We get that record of decision. We'll start project financing, start construction, and get the project. It'll be about a 2 to 3 year construction process. We have to improve a road, and we have to improve the power line that goes up there. We have an autoclave, so that in processing, that will be put in the up
So is it all funded by the individuals in the company, you're saying?
It's funded by our shareholders, yes.
So when did the stock go public?
Now it went public in, I'm going to say maybe 2015.
2015. So talk about the shareholder mix, how much is institutional, private, and how much do the executives own?
We have the shareholder base is, we have Paulson & Co. They own about 44% of our company in shareholder.
Very institutional.
We have Kopernik. They own some. We have Sun Valley Gold. Let me see. I think there are a couple others, but those were the major ones.
A good percentage of institutional?
Oh, absolutely, a good percentage of institutional. And then there is, of course, just independent folks, retail investors that are out there.
And then the team.
And then the team, there are many of us that own stock. I don't know what the percentage is right now, and then of our corporation, our board, they hold stock as well.
How do they have more skin in the game other than typically salary? Do you see them reinvesting a lot or doing something else, or
the
team?
The team.
Yeah.
I see them buying stock, owning shares. We reward our team members with shares, and that so that they continue to have more ownership.
The fact that they came to you is pretty interesting. Sounds like they are have a lot of extra incentive, motivated, definitely. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and I truly don't believe that it was based on profit for them. I truly believe that it is based on, if you are an engineer or if you are a geologist and you see a project that is different than any other, in order to build a portfolio or your resume, to have our project on there that you worked through that.
So other than financial rewards,
absolutely,
more philanthropic or big picture, and that's great.
Yeah, I really have to salute the workforce. I've met not just our company but other companies in the mining industry. I know in Idaho, we have a really good association with our Idaho Mining Association and many of the people are really dedicated to being responsible and have sustainable projects, and that's what helps mining progress into becoming an industry again, because mining in the U.S. has not had a lot of good successes, right?
Yeah.
And to have a project that can address the environmental concerns as well as provide a profit has been, I think, the big motivator.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's an extra marketing piece that'll give you some leverage for sure. So tell me about the financials and cash, debt, maybe some how much runway is left.
So we have about, as of the end of June, we had $36 million to help get us through the end of, hopefully get us through the permitting process, record of decision.
I would hope so.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I can tell you that public land agencies do not know, well, they do know, but I don't know if they are as concerned about how expensive it is to permit a mine. Costs a lot of money to permit a mine. Millions and millions of dollars. What they're looking at is they're looking at you following the regulations that are in place and all of the clean water, how well, and even the social aspects of how well you are working with your communities and that's something we haven't touched on, but
yeah, I mean, you said you're not in production at all. This is your first resource, so you cannot be going through a lot of cash since you are at the stage, right?
Yeah, we are. It does cost a lot to go through the mine. We have about a $2 million a month burn, but we've taken that back. And as we get through this permitting process, as each milestone is met, there's less and less that of a burn on the cash as it's handed more.
So one-time charge,
right?
Rather than a variable.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people realize that. A lot of these new exploration companies that's such a hurdle. It's not talked about as much. So what's the future, like, let's say 1, 5, 10 years? Where would you like to see the company, and what is the potential exit, merger, acquisition type? Is that too far in advance? Or?
Well, I can tell you that I think what will really show what that pathway will be is as we start to meet these milestones or the catalysts of a supplemental draft EIS out on the street, as soon as the market sees that, and that's going to be a big catalyst to help bring interest back into investing or working to get the project all the way through to the ROD. They're going to see that it is progressing. And as that happens, I think you'll see that we will get re-rated. But a lot of junior mining companies in the U.S. today are all struggling with, one, where gold is, right? The value. They're struggling with permitting, and people are just watching to see what the market is just watching to see what will push the next company, how it moves forward. And as you can see that they're moving forward, that's what I think the catalyst that helps the market become more interested. And right now, it would not be good for our shareholders to raise money or to do anything like that. The dilution it's just not the right time to do that. But for us, we have money in the bank. We can help get this project finished up in permitting. Excellent.
So on a macroeconomic level, I ask, when do you think gold will have its day?
I remember talking about this even last year at this time, and we thought it was going to be here. But I work for a gold mining company. How can you not say that it's going to happen? I see everything out there. The fact that this project is specifically to our project, the fact that this project I think that the U.S. government can't afford not to permit it. We have the ability, by mining this really good resource, to clean up an area that has been abandoned. And it will only get worse unless we clean it up. So we were going to commit to use some of our profit to clean it up. We'll have a antimony, a critical mineral that's used in clean energy that is, because of supply chain issues and other things, has just accelerated, right? And then we've got the DOD for antimony. So I don't think the government can afford not to have us.
Sounds like you're in the top 10% of environmentally responsible companies, if not higher, right?
Yeah, we do think we are.
And if you create this mine that's so environmentally friendly, especially for all the trout, do you think you're going to set a precedence, or is it?
I think it is. I can tell you that we talk to a lot of other junior mining companies and folks in our space, and because we're further along in this NEPA process than several of them, some are just still drilling, some are, barely kicking off the NEPA process. They're all watching us to see how we do it and what we're doing. And, I guess it's good and bad to be leading the path, to be the first one down that path to working with an administration that I think wants to have critical minerals. And I think they want to be able to provide these jobs in rural areas and clean up the environment. But the actual, stepping into that hasn't quite happened. But I think we are the one project that could lead the way.
Yeah, I mean, you've got intellectual property there that could turn into leases and royalties in the future. Mm-hmm. Because they want to shortcut their process, and you would definitely shortcut. So that's interesting. So, any last words or comments that you'd like to kind of discuss?
I think that what I would like to share is that, of course, we are, like I said, sort of leading the path in permitting. The resource that we will provide, the economic benefit that we provide. We have a very strong support in Idaho with our local communities, with our government, our state government. So many of the people in Valley County and the surrounding counties that we're located in, they really want us to go clean up their backyard. And they want to be able to have the water cleaner. They want to be able to see us be successful. So that's been very rewarding for us. We've worked hard to get that approval. We've met one-on-one with folks. I think the thing I'm the most proud of is how transparent we are as a company. We'll meet with anyone. We will, those that oppose the project, those that are in favor of the project, and one of our biggest benefits that we have in talking with people is to take them to the project and give them a tour.
Wow.
And let them see what it is, the condition it's in, and then have them see the mock-up visuals of what it's going to look like when those pits are backfilled and we can restore the river over it and still provide the country with clean energy and the DOD antimony.
Interesting.
So,
have you guys already looked at other target properties if this works in Idaho?
No, we haven't.
No?
We've
Okay.
solely focused on this project. Yeah, but we'd love to have you come out and take you to Idaho and the back country and let you see what we've got there.
That's great to hear. Maybe
else.
I'm sure somebody on the website will take you up for that,
Okay.
if not me.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.